Welcome to Jehovah News, your trusted source for Christian faith updates. Brought to you by Jehovah's House of Saints. Stay tuned for the latest news and insights to inspire and uplift your spiritual journey. Stay connected with us as we bring you all the breaking Christian news, presented by the dedicated team at Jehovah's House of Saints.
Have you ever pondered about what the future holds as per the Bible's prophecy? Cast your mind to a time where the world was in chaos. Wars were the order of the day, and they ravaged the lands without mercy. Famine, once a distant threat, spread like wildfire, consuming everything in its path. Pestilence, an unwelcome visitor, plagued the people, sparing no one. The once prosperous nations, beacons of wealth and power, now lay in ruins, their splendor a mere echo of the past, their riches a memory that faded into obscurity. But why? Why did this happen? The people had turned their backs on God. They were seduced by the glittering allure of wealth and material possessions, forsaking righteousness and holiness. Their hearts were captivated by false gods, idols of silver and gold. They placed their trust in these lifeless objects, hoping they would deliver them from the impending wrath of the Lord. Yet God, in His infinite wisdom, had warned them. Through His prophets, He declared that their silver and gold would be as an unclean thing in His sight. On the day of His wrath, their treasures would be worthless, offering no solace for their hunger or comfort for their empty stomachs. Their wealth had become a stumbling block of their iniquity, leading them further away from God and deeper into sin. As the end days drew near, a spark of realization ignited within the people. They recognized the error of their ways. Their silver was cast into the streets, a worthless metal in the eyes of the Lord. They repented of their sins, seeking forgiveness and redemption from the one true God. In that moment of humility and surrender, they were shown mercy and grace. The Lord restored their hearts, filling them with His love and compassion. The people turned away from their idols and false gods, returning to the one who had created them and redeemed them. As the scriptures state, the nations lay in ruins, their wealth and power faded into obscurity. God, in His wisdom, did not leave His people without warnings. In the ancient days, God sent His prophets to the people, voices crying out in the wilderness, heralding the oncoming storm. They painted vivid pictures of a world in turmoil, where wealth and power would crumble under the weight of divine wrath. They spoke of a time when silver and gold, once symbols of prosperity and power, would be seen as unclean in the eyes of the Lord. A time when the riches that people clung to for security would become worthless, unable to satisfy their hunger or fill their stomachs. This was not just a physical hunger, but a spiritual one, a deep yearning for something more than the material world could offer. The prophets warned that the pursuit of wealth and material possessions had led the people astray. Their riches had become a false god, an idol that they worshipped in place of the one true God. Their trust in silver and gold had blinded them to the spiritual poverty that had taken root in their hearts. Yet, as the days of God's wrath drew closer, a shift began to occur. The people, once so enamored with their wealth, began to see the emptiness of their pursuits. They cast their silver into the streets, recognizing that it held no true value in the eyes of the Lord. They began to understand that their wealth had become a stumbling block, a barrier that was keeping them from God. They realized that their iniquity had led them away from the path of righteousness and holiness. They had traded their eternal souls for the fleeting pleasures of this world, and the price of their folly was becoming all too clear. In this moment of realization, the people turned back to God. They sought His forgiveness, humbling themselves before His mighty presence. They repented of their sins, casting off their false gods and turning their hearts back to the Lord. Their riches, once a symbol of their power, became a stumbling block of their iniquity. The people had been warned, and now they were beginning to understand. They were finally seeing the true cost of their pursuit of wealth and power. As the end days drew near, the people finally began to realize the error of their ways. A profound shift in consciousness was taking place across the world, a stirring in the hearts of men and women. It was a moment of reckoning, a time of introspection and soul-searching. They began to see the futility of their pursuits, the emptiness of their wealth, and the vanity of their material possessions. They looked at their silver and gold, once symbols of their power and status, and saw them for what they truly were, lifeless metals, devoid of any real value in the grand scheme of things. These riches that they had chased after so relentlessly that they had sacrificed relationships, peace of mind, and even their moral compasses for, had become their own stumbling blocks. A wave of repentance washed over them, with a depth and sincerity that only comes from a place of deep remorse and regret. They cast their silver into the streets, a symbolic act of renunciation and surrender. They declared in no uncertain terms that their trust was no longer in their wealth, but in the one true God. They fell to their knees, their hearts heavy with guilt and their eyes welled up with tears of repentance. They pleaded for forgiveness, for mercy, for a chance to make things right. They sought redemption, not in their riches, but in righteousness and holiness. They turned their backs on their false gods and idols, returning to the God who had created them, loved them, and redeemed them. This was not a moment of despair, but one of hope. It was a return to God, a return to righteousness, a return to the path that leads to true peace and prosperity. It was a testament to the transformative power of repentance and the enduring love of God. It was a reminder that no matter how far one may stray, there is always a way back. There is always hope, there is always grace, and there is always redemption. In their humility and surrender, they found mercy and grace from the Lord. And in those final days, a great change swept across the people. The world, once lost in the pursuit of material possessions and false idols, found itself on the precipice of a profound revelation. The silver and gold that once glittered in their eyes, that once held the promise of safety and deliverance, lost their luster. The people cast them into the streets, a symbolic renunciation of their past pursuits. They had come to realize that these worldly riches held no true value in the eyes of the Almighty. In this moment of surrender, the Lord, in His infinite mercy and grace, accepted their repentance. He saw their remorse, their willingness to turn away from their past errors, and met them with compassion. His grace, a divine gift of love and forgiveness, was showered upon them. He restored their hearts, filling them with a warmth and love that no earthly riches could provide. The people, once lost, were found again in the light of God's grace. They turned away from the false gods they had once worshipped, from the silver and gold that had once held their trust. They returned to the one true God, the Creator, the Redeemer. They sought His forgiveness and found redemption in His love. This divine grace, this unmerited favor, was the beacon of hope in those dark times. It was a testament to the love of God, a love that sees beyond our flaws and accepts us as we are. It was a reminder that no matter how far we stray, no matter how lost we may seem, the path back to God is always open. The world, once ravaged by wars, famine, and pestilence, found solace in the grace of God. The once prosperous nations, now reduced to ruins, found a new wealth in His kingdom. They discovered the true value of righteousness and holiness, understanding that these were the real treasures to seek. And so, in those end days, a great change did indeed sweep across the people. Their hearts were restored, their spirits renewed, and their faith in the one true God rekindled. They lived in peace and prosperity, forever glorifying the name of the Lord. But there are also warnings for us today in these prophecies. The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verses 16 to 17, speaks of a mark of the beast, a sign forced upon all, whether small or great, rich or poor, free or slave. This mark, placed on the right hand or forehead, is said to control the ability to buy or sell. Today, we see how technology evolves and the trend of chip implants rises. These chips, embedded in the hand, grant the ability to make transactions, to buy and sell. If we align these realities with the prophecy, the parallels are uncanny. As we move towards a digital currency, the notion of everyone receiving a chip implant is not far-fetched. A world where one cannot buy, sell, or trade without this chip. If this isn't what the Bible is talking about, then what else could it be? Understanding these prophecies and sharing them with the world is our mission. And with your help, we can continue to unravel the mysteries of the scriptures, illuminating the path to a future foretold. Each video we produce, each prophecy we unravel, they all require resources, time, research, production. These elements are fueled by your generosity. In the scriptures, we learn the value of giving, not in silver or gold, but in support and love for our fellow human beings. It's not about the amount, but the heart from which it comes. Just as the people in the end days cast their silver into the streets, realizing its true value, we invite you to cast your support our way. Your contribution, even as small as a $1 donation, can make a world of difference. It helps keep the prophecy alive, the message flowing, the mission progressing. We kindly ask for your support by making a $1 donation towards our cause through jehovahsaint.com.